Hey y'all, welcome back to Right at the Wire. Well, the final chapter in our Breeders' Cup Division Series is the sprint. So let's get started. So here's the field for the sprint, and you can see it's clearly the smallest of any of the other Breeders' Cup races. And we've got some notables in here. Sadly, we're not going to see Echo Zulu. I was really looking forward to that. But apparently she's doing well, so that's the more important thing right now. So we're going to have the rematch of Elite Power and Gunite, as we've seen a couple of times already this year. We've got Japanese imports, and we've got a fair amount of California horses as well. The first couple we're going to look at ran in the Santa Anita Sprint Championship, and first being Dr. Shivel, who won it. And this is a horse who's come off a really long layoff and has progressively gotten better and culminated with a nice win in the Santa Anita Sprint. This one is versatile, can go a mile if need be, I think. And I think that might come in handy in this race. Going to be up on the engine early, but can also rate just off any leaders there might be. So this is an interesting one to think about, especially since it's at Santa Anita. Mark Glatt, nice trainer. Then we have Speedboat Beach, and this one hasn't run a whole lot and had quite a long layoff before running back into the Santa Anita Sprint, and showed that speed that we had become accustomed to. And the only clunker this one really had was in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint last year, which still remains a mystery as to why he was in that race. But nonetheless, this one has a ton of early lick, and if can get on the lead without a lot of real serious pressure, this one is a threat to win it, in my opinion. So Speedboat Beach, definitely one we want to watch, especially in Bob Baffert's hands. And then we have American Theorem, and this one is going to be coming from off the pace and really hasn't done a whole lot lately to get you really excited about. Ran fifth in the Santa Anita Sprint Championship, so let's take a look at that race and see where those California horses fared. So this is the Santa Anita Sprint Championship. You see they're loading in.
It's post time for the Santa Anita Sprint Championship presented by Estrella Jalisco.
There's Dr. Shivel right there in the red.
Moving into line.
What happened to Arabian Lion? Boy, he had that little spurt there where he was really looking like he was turning into a horse, and he's faded right back to the paper tiger that he was earlier in the year. And he's got to be, Bob Baffert's got to be scratching his head. I thought he'd be a really good candidate for the sprint, but just hasn't demonstrated the form. Don't know what's going on. He's a reclamation project for next year, I guess. Ooh, a lot of jostling.
And they're off in the Santa Anita Sprint Championship, presented by Estrella.
You see Dr. Shivel a little slow to get going, and maybe that's something to factor in, because this is a race, as we know, the sprint, a bad break is basically going to cost you. You see Speedboat Beach rating off the pace, attended with Dr. Shivel quickly, and we've got American Theorem at the back.
Back to American Theorem. And stretch running CZ Rocket at the back of the field. It's Sir Atticus, a narrow leader, 3 furlongs from home. Speedboat Beach on the outside. Dr. Shivel and Neck back third. Then Fort Bragg angle to the
I expect Speedboat Beach to go right to the front in the sprint. I don't think he'll try to rate. I think that'd be a big mistake to do that. Just try to use his speed to the fullest extent. You see, he ran a big one here. Coming off the bench, I thought that was really impressive. Right here, he looks like he's going to get it, but couldn't quite get there.
Dr. Shivel or Speedboat Beach. Here's the line. Dr. Shivel has won the Santa Anita Sprint Championship again.
So I'd say Dr. Shivel got a little bit better trip, but I think Speedboat Beach is definitely one that might have been the better horse, given he was a little further to the outside. But either one of them, I think we definitely want to keep an eye on for the sprint. Next two we're going to look at are probably the top two contenders in this race. Elite Power, of course, last year's winner, has been very solid all year. And in the only time there was really a blemish, if you want to call it that, was the Forego, where he was victim to them slowing the pace down on the front end. And so what we're going to do is we're going to look at both the Vanderbilt and the Forego, because I think it's important to note where Elite Power has his best effort, and then where maybe he can be beaten. And we can say the same for the next one, Gunite. Really, before the Forego, we all knew that the only way he was going to win was he's got to be able to slow it down on the front end. He got really lucky in one respect, and that pipeline really didn't fire that day, and we expected him to be on the engine. I think it's to Elite Power's credit that he was able to finish second, and it's also Gunite's credit that he was able to hang on. So we're going to look at both races to get an idea of either scenario, and maybe it'll give us some more insight as to how we want to look at the sprint field-wise. So the first race we're going to look at is the Forego. And this is one where I think this was more favorable to Gunite, and you'll see why.
And they're off in the Forego, and a very even beginning. Gunite is the quickest out of there. Pipeline is showing good speed. And those
yeah, I mean, Pipeline was up there for a little while, but I thought he'd be gunning it to the lead like he always does, and I guess maybe we can say that Gunite was more equal to the task, I suppose. But you see, Elite Power's up maybe a little closer than he might want to, because he can kind of sense the scenario that's unfolding. And you see, getting off to a 23. Now, you'd have to say, I highly doubt that they'll be able to get a 23 opening quarter in the sprint on Breeders' Cup Day. But, you know, the fact that Pipeline wasn't really as keen as I thought, I mean, that was really played into Gunite's hands, because he kept the pace reasonable and prevented Elite Power from closing into a quick pace. So you see how he can completely controls the race from the front end, and Elite Power does save ground, but that little extra edge he normally has evaporated because of the pace. And we don't want to take anything away from Gunite. Gunite ran a really nice race, too. Let's get that clear.
Is maintaining the lead, and he will defeat Elite Power in the Forego.
Nicely done. So now we'll look at the Vanderbilt and see the alternative scenario.
This brilliant Gunite who beat Elite Power in 1:21 and 2.
And now we're going to look at the Vanderbilt and see an alternative scenario that has been played out more often than not, and really plays into Elite Power's late kick.
The Alfred G. Vanderbilt. And they're off. Dean Delivers, flies out of the gate.
You see, you get Dean Delivers hot on the pace right away.
Elite Power is pretty close up in the early stages, and Gunite moving through along the rail to be a joint second. Up the backstretch, Dean Delivers sets the pace. Awesome Aaron in between horses.
You see, Elite Power's going to take right back from there.
And on the outside of them, Little Vic.
Gunite is going to be up near it because he doesn't want Dean Delivers to get away, but it's also going to kind of cost him, because he's got to use his horse.
Is Synthesis. Gunite comes after Dean Delivers.
And it may not seem like a whole lot of difference between the first fractions, but 22 and 3 and 23 and 1 almost, there's a fair amount of difference there. Now you see at 45, and again, that's so you had two quick fractions early, and Gunite was doing all the heavy lifting early, so Elite Power does benefit from it, and is a little fresher coming into the stretch, and is able to come and get him. Gunite ran a hell of a race too, though. So you can see, I mean, it's to me, it's one of those two in the sprint. I think they're clearly the class of the division, and we'll just have to see which scenario unfolds. Hoist the Gold is one that you see quite a bit. He ships everywhere, seemingly, and he runs in a lot of graded stakes, and usually not to terribly much success. This is a pretty good horse, but he's more of a grade 3 ungraded stakes type of horse than he is a grade 1. He could potentially factor in this race perhaps early on, but it's late running where he runs into difficulty at the higher levels. Dallas Stewart's barn is going really well right now, and he is known to throw a bomb in here and there, but I think we've seen enough of this horse to indicate that at the higher levels he falls a little short. Nakatomi is trained by Wesley Ward, and if this the Breeders' Cup was at Keeneland, you'd be really interested in Nakatomi. He's a horse for the course there, particularly at 7 furlongs. However, this is at Santa Anita and at 6 furlongs. He's going to be coming from off the pace, and the thing about Nakatomi is he's really tends to disappoint. If you're expecting more out of him. I've come to, when I see him, I just go, okay, well, this scenario looks great, but he never seems to quite get there or realize his potential. Usually when the class levels rise, this is where horses like this do tend to perform a little worse than they normally do. And we'll see. I mean, I'm not ready to write off Nakatomi yet. Underneath is always a possibility, but I think it'd be highly remote for this one to be a win candidate. So now we're going to look at the Ogden Phoenix Stakes to take a look at Hoist the Gold and Nakatomi. So the Ogden Phoenix Stakes was run at Keeneland, and I apologize. One of you noted that I misquoted a track for the Spinster. I believe I said it was Belmont to Big A, and I apologize, but I look at a lot of races, so sometimes they all get melded together, especially when you're getting old like I am. So anyway, here we go.
They're off in the stall. Keenan Ogden Phoenix.
See, Hoist the Gold is usually that's about where he goes. He rates.
Nakatomi comes away running third. Gulfstream Way, then Sibelius, who moves up from fifth, along with Hoist the Gold, who moves up from sixth down toward the inside.
Get right off the leader.
Is away running in seventh, down toward the rail, trying to pick his way through some traffic. Baytown Bear 3 wide in the 8th position. Top Gunner between horses is in 9th. Necker Island is in the 10th position, and Voodoo Zip last of the 11. Back up front, Dr. Oscar outside, Sibelius inside. They contest the lead. Hoist the Gold to close third. 21.79 seconds the time for the opening.
Sibelius just hasn't been the same since Dubai. I really was hoping he'd rebound because he was awesome prior to that.
Now that pair both about 5 lengths from the front. A quarter mile to go. Nakatomi angles wide from the 6th position. They turn for home. Sibelius has a narrow lead. Dr. Oscar Hoist the Gold swings up on the outside, and Bango
rated,
and then
Nakatomi. There it is.
The Gold has the lead. Manny was in tight toward the rail behind horses. Can't move forward. Deep stretch, Hoist the Gold, Nakatomi, Bango between horses, Hoist the Gold, Nakatomi.
Everybody was rooting for Bango in this one, but it didn't happen.
The Gold.
So that's more of a, that's not the greatest field. I would call that more of a grade 3 field than a grade 2. So obviously the class level is going to be a lot higher, and this is where more often than not Hoist the Gold does have problems. I might consider Nakatomi just for his late running style a little bit more, though.
Hoist the Gold able to...
The Chosen Vron is a California horse, and you look at that his record there, 17 starts, 13 wins, 16 out of 17 in the money. This is a serious horse. Now, the knock would be that he has done a lot of it against Calbred Company. However, the Bing Crosby was against Open Company last time, and he acquitted himself pretty well. I don't think this is one we want to discount quite so much, because he is on his home track, and that will pick him up a little bit. So we're going to take a look at the Bing Crosby and see what we've got with Chosen Vron. So now we'll take a look at the Bing Crosby.
And
I see Chosen Vron, I believe, is in the 4-hole there. Everybody broke pretty well there, so he's got a lot of rivals for the lead.
Anarchist is in the red colours, and Sibelius right there too. They bunch together. Hoist the Gold at the rail, only 3 lengths.
See, Hoist the Gold, my God, he just he ships everywhere.
Dr. Skyville broke well, but is now 4 off the leaders, starting to...
So you had some contenders from the sprint in here. You had Dr. Skyville, you had Hoist the Gold. So I think it's a pretty good litmus test for how the Chosen Vron can handle it. Had to check there a little bit.
They're coming now towards the quarter pole, and Peaceful Waters has the advantage. In the second spot is Anarchist. Now here comes Dr. Skyville, and Dr. Skyville, blue blinkers on the outside, is coming.
Nice hole there for the Chosen Vron.
Leone running a big one down at the rail, then CZ Rocket trying to come home gamely as well. They are homeward bound. Dr. Skyville, Anarchist has come to take him on. The Chosen Vron is in there as well with a white cap. Three of them nose and nose.
Pretty good. I'd say that's a pretty darn good effort, and that wasn't a bad field he was facing either. And a couple of these are going to come back in the British Cup Sprint, so wouldn't be quite so quick to discount the Chosen Vron. I think it'll be more about the pace study that I intend to do to get an idea how he stacks up. But pretty nice win for a horse who likes to win, so I don't think we want to just completely throw him out right away. 3 Technique is one of the more versatile runners in the sprint, as he can take it up to a mile, as he did in the AAK, which we're going to look at. He's a closer. He's going to be coming from off the pace. And so I think this is a horse that's in pretty good form coming into this race. And I think he's very interesting in this race. So let's take a look at the AAK. So here's the AAK.
And they're off. Off to an even start. From mid-pack, Stage Raider and Zozos is there. Cattle River on the far outside sees the night down toward the inside with some speed as well. But it's Zozos who steps out to lead them
3 Technique
up
at the back.
chute, heading for the main track. So it is Zozos in front by a length. Cattle River.
What he normally does.
Now, and Stage Raider backs off, eases into third down inside. Skyro's in the
Of course, we're going to see Stage Raider and Zozos in the mile.
Running along in 5th. 3 Technique coasting along at the back in 6th with Seized Tonight.
But the thing you got to like about 3 Technique is he's got that little extra stamina. So for a sprint race coming from behind, sometimes that makes a difference, you know, for those who are fading in the stretch or just trying to hang on.
Cruising along at the halfway mark.
And he's been in good form this year.
With him, the half in 47 seconds flat. Stage Raider tucked away toward the inside, racing right there third.
See, Zozos pretty much has it all his own way.
Skyro, 2 lengths back, 3 Technique. Still 4 lengths behind as around the far turn.
I don't think he's going to get that in the dirt mile, but
toward the top of the stretch. Zozos and a pesky Cattle River. 1-2 off the turn.
He got to
Stage
swing
Raider
way
needs
wide.
to find a way through. 3 Technique switches to the far outside as they race for the mid-stretch marker. Zozos is still in front and he's shaken up now. The lead is 2. Stage Raider fights on. 3 Technique putting in a final try. Zozos still the leader. Stage Raider's coming on once again. 3 Technique
good
down
close,
the center,
but
Zozos finishes
you know, was
strong.
able to soften it up as it went along. Had plenty of horse left, but sprint will have to get going a little sooner. But I think he's coming into the race in pretty good form, and you got the route to sprint angle as well. I'm going to talk about Jasper Crone briefly. He is dual entered in the turf sprint as well as the sprint, and every indication is he'll probably run in the turf sprint. Be a better venue for him. He most recently ran in the Sprinter Stakes, which we've watched a couple of times for the turf sprint as well as the mile, I believe, when we're dealing with Mikael, who was also dual entered. He's going to want to get to the lead and try to hold it. That's what he does. Probably a little better on turf than perhaps on dirt. And I don't think this would be a terribly favorable situation running in the dirt sprint, particularly with Speedboat Beach signed on. So from the field, we've culled down to our top prospects, and Dr. Schivel seems to be one round really coming into good form into this race. I like the fact that he can run just off the pace, and he is a California horse, and this may be a race where that Santa Anita advantage, home advantage, may come into play. I think Dr. Schivel, class-wise, is a good fit here, so he's one to consider. Of course, Elite Power, we know what he's going to do. He's going to come from a little bit off the pace, about mid-pack, and if he has the if he has a favorable scenario, you've likely got a repeat winner. I'm expecting there's going to be a fair amount of pace, given this being a Breeders' Cup race. The horse is a little more keyed up, the class level, and particularly with Speedboat Beach signed on. So I think you'd have to like Elite Power's chances. Gunite, of course, is a very classy horse, and he certainly can compete, but you do have to wonder, since he'll be a little closer to the pace, he has to do a little more heavy lifting, and that does open things up for Elite Power a little bit. Speedboat Beach, I think, is a threat to wire this field. He's just got greasy fast, early speed. He breaks very sharply, and once he gets on the lead, he might be awful tough to rein in. And he's lightly raced. He had that one prep, and coming off a long layoff, didn't show any rust whatsoever in the Santa Anita Sprint Championship, and I thought he actually probably, had he been a little more forwardly placed on the lead, I think he probably could have won that race. But Speedboat Beach, I think, is a real prime candidate to upset the apple cart here. Of the late runners, I like 3 Technique. He's coming route to sprint, having just run in the AAK. He's very versatile and may have a little more stamina than perhaps some of the others. And I don't think he's necessarily a candidate to win, but if there is a pace meltdown, it may work in his favor. But I think you have to think about him for the exotics for sure. And then finally, the Chosen Vron. He is a win machine, and he just proved in the Bing Crosby against Open Company that he's no slouch either and doesn't have to have it conditional with Statebreds. That wasn't a bad field he beat in the Bing Crosby. He'll be coming just off the pace, and again, he should be in very good position, and then the question will be whether he's good enough. So I'm not ready to completely toss the Chosen Vron yet, particularly after the Bing Crosby showing that he does in fact have some class. So that's the sprint, and it's the smallest field in the group, and I think there's a reason for that. It looks like a pretty chalky race, but I'll leave that for you to conclude on your own. Hope our analysis helps you with your own deep dive, and we'll have more postings concerning just the pure handicapping of each race, so be on the lookout for those. And if you do like content like this, of course, please like and subscribe. And thanks to all of you who have come on board recently. We really appreciate the support, and it does help to keep us going. Not always easy to put these together. It does take a fair amount of time. So thanks again, and glad to have you for the rest of the Thoroughbred season and beyond. That's it from here. I'll talk to you soon, and until then, be well.